So Vern, you've been sharing your thoughts regarding the importance of education being focused, student focused, and accomplishment focused,
Yeah.
and making sure that we are open to treating everybody as an individual and not treating everybody as a one size fits all traditional cookie cutter approach, and being open to really looking at the unique needs of each individual. And that being one of the key qualities of leadership.
As we've gone more and more into technology, I think it strips a person of their soul to some extent, because we have these very rigid areas that we expect results in a certain way. And I think that when I'm not against technology, but I think we have to be careful we don't become so far. I guess probably the best example, I had a friend who was an accountant, a CPA. He got out of it in 5 years, and he now is a mule on backpacking goods and needs to camping people in Colorado. I said, how do you go from CPA to that? And he said, and this is his joke, he's a CPA, so that's not mine. He say, you know how to tell the difference between a CPA and his computer? The computer's the one with a sense of humor. So but the thing is, I think that we can become so focused on the results, and really life is made up of how we get to the results. The movement and growth that moves to the results. Not, I mean, to get a lot of money, how many cars you can have in a garage, or how many big houses or vacation spots can you have, where it kind of becomes just redundant.
Let's talk about that very important subject that you just brought up. Our leadership development experience that we have developed, and I think I've shared with you some of the contents of, is simply focused on those leaders ready to move forward. The successful executive coach is charged with helping an individual leader move forward. So it's a very important leadership premise to focus on the action of moving forward. It's kind of a physics terminology. It's the study of movement and how we get individuals and groups to move forward. So it's an interesting, as I've listened to you talk about being non-traditional and focusing on the individual and trying to create solutions that are appropriate for the individual student. My question to you comes up in terms of how do you build in accountability, and how do you build in forward movement and positive momentum in that type of a leadership scenario?
Well, when you look at the goal, and you have someone doing the work to get towards that goal, when he does something really well in that process, because you don't just come to success. You have many successes before you finally come to success, and so you need to, if you're mentoring someone, you really got to be strong with that of giving them attaboys that means something to them, because the standard is high, but is in the incremental steps. There are certain areas along the way which the individual may show exceptional perception or ability to interpret what needs to be done there, and you really need to understand that. I think it's true in business as well as schools. You have to really be able to help a person.
Stop for a minute. Hey Jordan, will you pull that door closed?
Sure.
You got flyaway?
I have.
Yeah. So every time your hair's, and I'm sure when your wife looks at that, she's gonna go, "How come they didn't close that door?"
Yeah.
So you just keep pulling it because it's a little bit off. You just got it. Yeah. You got to actually. There you go. Perfect. Okay. Now swat it down just one more time. Yeah. Okay. Now go on.
But you don't get to the successful point without having many little successes. And if you're in trying to help someone grow, you've got to be very sensitive to what was really done well here. This was really good. I hadn't thought about that. This will really help, and as you apply it to the next one, you begin to see.
So what you're also describing is you're as a coach, as a mentor,
Yeah.
you're on that journey with them
That's
as
right.
a partner, identifying those things which you had planned or those things you had not planned
Right.
that contribute towards the goal.
Yeah.
And each step along the way, you have these benchmarks
Yeah.
or these action items that are accomplished, so that we recognize the movement forward each step of the way.
Well, in most cases, there's parameters. In most areas of life, there's parameters. But there's a lot of ways between those parameters that you can function. Now, you can't let someone you're mentoring get beyond those parameters.
Mm-hmm.
But as he's moving and has freedom to make decisions in areas that help you, you need to allow for room for, hey, that didn't work too good, but that's okay. Yeah, I've seen you done good at other things. It just, well, you try something else, and they discover what works for them. In the area of test anxiety as a teacher, that is a big thing. This is a big thing. Try different methods. I used to teach different methods of studying. And no one method is valid.
What's
itself.
interesting, and I make the correlation with when you talk about that no one application of an expected result to a group
Yeah.
of employees will have the same response rate. That some employees will take that challenge and do well. Some will have the test freeze,
Yeah.
anxiety. Others. So we have to be able to. What's predictable is we can anticipate that different people are going to have different responses, and as a leader, we have to think through what are those anticipated reactions so we can predict and be open to the other ways that we have to measure success, because we have to continually measure those successful things. We just have to, as you said, we have to stay within parameters. We just have to allow people to find that place where they can function appropriately and achieve,
Yeah.
and still then hit the organizational benchmarks and goals that we've set.